Hello, fellow warriors. Welcome back to another episode of Divided, Survived, and Thriving. I am Laila Aitken Ali, a divorcee, a divorce coach, and the founder of Split FYI. So as some of you know already, I do love interviewing badass humans who have not only survived divorce, but have come out the other side, took control of their lives, and rewrote their story. These conversations are about turning the painful process of divorce into a positive force in your life. I get to host so many stories of resilience, passion, grit, familiarity, grace, and survival. And today, even humor, lots of it. Stories are a reminder that no matter how hard it gets, you can get through it and learn as much from it, heal from it, and embrace the journey ahead. So without further ado, my special guest today is the funny and kind and unapologetically upbeat and flexible. I'm going to add that. She is raw, real, and relatable, and uses humor, there you go, to get through her divorce and tell her story. I mean, if only I could do that. She just finished her Divorce Diaries pilot, is a special needs teacher, and a mom of a beautiful daughter. We will get a little insight of her own story, how humor helps, and how she is navigating the production, dating, and co-parenting world. Hi, Michele.
Hi, Laila. Hi, I'm so excited. Laila, thank you so much for having me. I get so nervous, like when I say hello on a podcast or anything, and I'm like, do I sound like a 13-year-old prepubescent boy because my voice cracks? And then
I'm always cracking, and I'm always like, oh, and forgetting things, as we discussed earlier.
I feel like we're sisters. I honestly feel like in a good way, like, because I feel like we do so many wonderful things, but like and we juggle so many things. I was just saying before we started, I was just like, I don't like it. Yeah, it's juggling it all, and amidst like a divorce too.
Exactly, juggling it all. I mean, well, that brings me to the beginning. So the divorce. Let's talk about that in a nutshell, whatever you are comfortable with, but tell us a little bit about how that happened or went down.
So I have been almost divorced 6 years now, and it's been so great that I got divorced. And I don't say that because I don't believe in marriage. I do believe in marriage. I believe in love. I love love, but that's why I got divorced. Because I think that when I got married, I thought this person that I had was my first boyfriend. I felt like this was the direction I was supposed to head in with him. And if I didn't, I'd have to start all over, which was for me. I had been with this person for so many years, like, oh gosh, and then, but it wasn't healthy for us to stay together. Right. And I wanted the divorce at the time. He did not. But he wasn't happy, and we went to therapy and twice, and we had a baby. We had my daughter, and nothing seemed to work. Right. I got a lot of the blame because I wanted the divorce. I mean, I felt, on my perspective, I got a lot of the blame that I destroyed everything, right. Because I wanted the divorce. And I felt bad because I just didn't want to hurt a person like that, where they were so emotionally, sad, and then destructive, angry, destructive towards me, and like, not like abusive in a way of like hitting me or anything like that, but it was to the point where I did not want to live with this person, and his emotional state got to the best of him. I think it took the worst out of me, physically, like losing weight. So it was like, this isn't healthy. We're gonna end this marriage so that we can be happy. Right. Not miserable, or get back to a happier state. And I think that's the key, because I don't think there's ever a place of just, you're happy for a year, you're completely and utterly in bliss, because that's not life. Life is not you completely heaven, because then this what we learn. We're in a journey. The journey is a process, right? Uh-huh. So I wanted to be in a happier state, and I wanted to be back to who I was years ago: sexy, fun, vivacious, not so obsessive compulsive over things that were like odd. At the time, I was just like picking on things in my life and like worrying so much because I was so unhappy, and I didn't know how to fix the real part of the problem. So I wanted the divorce, and I didn't want to cheat on my husband. I didn't want to get into a place where things got so bad that my daughter
Right.
would be old enough to see. So I left the house with her and my handicapped dog, who had just gotten hit by a car a year prior to that.
Oh,
So I had told him too, like I wrote out a letter. I said, this is what's happening. Because like he knew we were getting divorced, but he didn't know like how serious it was. If we were separated, living in the house together. But like I had consulted with an attorney on my own and all this stuff. And I was advised to tell him that you're leaving, because I was at the time, for me to stay in the house with the baby and get divorced would be very difficult. I think it would have been harder. So I decided to make a leave and we'll move with my parents and file for divorce.
okay. Well, in fact, it's less toxic as well, right? So, I mean, what you're describing was such a toxic environment that you know that you needed to get out of. And it's interesting because a lot of times I speak to so many people who are utterly unhappy in their marriage, utterly.
Yeah.
They're very afraid. And they're afraid to leave. They're afraid to leave for financial reasons. They're afraid to leave because of what are they going to do to their partner or how they're going to react. And, you know, it's in that fear that we just don't make great decisions. And honestly, we don't make good decisions for our own selves. And I always say, like, if you have kids, especially, it's like, well, do you think they're going to feel and see? Because I know your daughter was really young, but they still feel. They might not see everything that's going around, but they feel it, right? They feel your unhappiness. They feel the toxicity. So it's better to remove yourself up from that.
She wasn't speaking, so that was a big part. So
Yeah.
we all, you know, I had to go at the same time of filing for divorce. I had just found out that she needed therapy for speech delay. And also they requested a developmental evaluation, which I went into the speech evaluation not thinking anything but, okay, she can get speech therapy if she needs it. But they were like, she should get a developmental evaluation. And I was like, why? She's developing fine. And they're like, because she has certain things that she's doing, repetitions, and was one big word I never heard of before, lining blocks up, opening and closing doors, that were signs or cues that could potentially be a child on the spectrum. So my whole world stopped for a second with just that knowledge. And amidst that, I had gotten a new job in Newark, New Jersey at NJ Pack, and I was leaving. So there's a lot of transitions happening so that I could kind of get out of this house and move away and get divorced and settle it out of the house so that Grace wasn't in this toxic environment. But then at the same time, she was having these developmental issues where I didn't know what to do. I felt so alone. And I never really will know if there was a trigger of the situation of the house, or this is just kind of what she was going through developmentally. You know, I think that it was the best decision. I think, you know, my daughter grew up in the first after she was 2 when we moved from 2 to 6. She grew up with my parents there, my household, my grandmother, which was her great grandmother. Like it was really helpful for her.
Right.
And when we moved out 2 years ago and the pandemic happened, I realized that it was hard for her not to have people around.
Right, because you get used to it. And first of all, family around you, as dysfunctional families can be. And I know you've got Italian family, and I know how crazy they are because I got them too. I've got the Italian family, but it's so comforting and warming to have family around and support around. It's what we need, right?
Absolutely. And a lot of people look at like moving back with your parents as like a step back. I joke about it, but it was like at the time it was like a salvation, because like I could be around my parents and joke and laugh. And, you know, trust me, there was a lot of struggles with living back home with your parents, but I'm so grateful for that time to have with my dad, especially who I lost a year and a half ago. It's not, maybe, is it almost a half? December of 2019, he passed. And like, if I didn't, it's not that I wouldn't have seen him, obviously, but like to have that close, there was a lot of times when I'm sorry. I always stop a thought and go to a new thought. I really get where my
that's okay. And I mean, I just want to say I'm really sorry about your.
Oh no, it's okay. I mean, he had bad COPD. So I think that God took him at the right time with the COVID happening, and I wouldn't have been able to see him during the pandemic because he had severe COPD. I was on, oxygen. So I think that the time that I was separated to the actual divorce and then some, my dad was a very part of like my day to day. And then just also the fact that he was his own comedian, and this way his story told and my mom's story tells, it was a big part of who I am. It's a big part of how I present myself on stage. Right. So it was family was definitely a salvation. And I think that it was, I feel so lucky that I have that, because some women and some men don't have anybody. And they have to do it on even more on their own, with like pulling their bootstraps up and saying, I have to figure it out. Yeah. And I had more than that. I had parents, I had work. I always continued to do the work that I love, whether it's performing or teaching performing. Like I teach theater. So when I taught theater, majority of the time I would be teaching with inclusion classrooms, which was general education and special needs. And then I would also be put with just ABA special need program, so it was like fulfilling this, because you're performing when you teach, right? Like when you're teaching something, you need to be able to engage them. And I teach acting. So it was fulfilling me. The role of my job, right, in a brand of using humor, right, or using performance, always brought me back to a place of like comfort, because regardless of everything else, I did what I love to do, right. and
joy.
Yep. That was a big part of the therapy involved in moving, in getting out of everything,
So, okay. So, I mean, honestly, I sometimes used to think I was funny.
Everybody is.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. And then I'm like, well, and you go through those moments, your darker moments, the moments it's hard to find the joy, it's hard to find the humor, we're like, we have this a veil of darkness over us sometimes. And you're like, oh my God, you can't break through it, And so you're wired to use humor in your life, your family. And I know we've spoken before, and I know humor is a huge thing in your family. So, which is great. And I think that, I honestly, the times when I was able to see the humor in things and the light, and just make it lighter, it made me, even though, and I'm not trying to undermine the stuff that people go through or I went through. No, but if everything is so dark and dreary, then it's hard to get through it. So talk to me about the humor and where this is.
And I'm writing humor down. I like to write notes and quotes that people say that stick in my head, because it reminds me of why I think the show, not why, what the goal for me is to do for people is to make them feel good about their life, right? Through telling my story. And I think a lot of people want that in life, right? A lot of people want to share their experiences to help others. And, it's kind of what feeds us when they relate to us and they clap for us and they want to buy in, right? Right. So, yeah. So the humor part is just a way to feel like, even though my situation sucks, I don't. Right. So I had to move back home with my parents, my grandmother, my handicapped dog, my twin brother lived in the house. We had a smorgasbord of big personalities. My grandmother was not your typical Italian, sweet, loving Nona. Sorry, Grandma, you know who you were. She was just a hardcore Sicilian, strict woman. Turns great grandmother who was kind, but she just had losing it a little bit as you get older. She didn't want to do it was a pain in the butt to get up every morning, have to make sure she didn't get up and wet the bed. Right. My mom did most of that, but my mom had to do that. It was so many weird things crossing over, trying to date, that I was like, you can't make this up. I have to do something with this. And at first I wanted to do it as a theater piece, but then when I saw people coming to the show crying bittersweet, I was like, I don't want to make them cry. I want to make them laugh. That laughing. Right. Because there's enough depression over divorce to sit in the mediator's office and hear this stuff, to go through it all, even if you want the divorce, to go through the fact when you first met him, to go through the wedding day, even on my dad's funeral in the church was where I got married. I still was like, this was my last memory of my dad in this church was my wedding. And it was just drawing up memories, right? So you have to like, and then you have to look at it when every time I put that laugh bit in where it's like end to a joke, it makes like a situation that's very heavy motivational, not just funny, but motivational, right?
I like that. I actually really like that because it's flipping the switch. And in fact, it's really difficult to, again, flip that switch, right? It is hard for people to see. A lot of people are like, well, if you make humor of it, you're just undermining it. I'm like, well, actually, no, you're really not. It's because
no, you're not.
Life. It's life, and life happens. It just happens. And it's like, embrace that. And there is some humor in all of that too, right? I mean, how much we put to something, especially someone. And listen, there are some circumstances that are not, I mean, it's really hard to find the laughter in it all, right? There really is. And I totally understand that. But I feel like it's really important to laugh and find something that can make you, if it's not about yourself, it's about other things. And like you said, other people, watch them. They've gone through some crazy stuff themselves. Laugh a little bit, try. It really helps.
It does. And like, I have had a lot of opinions from people who are either in, divorce attorneys, bookers, managers, marketing executives or professionals on the fact of like either how I should, or they comment on what I should do to make it not so niche or nichey. I can't even say the word. There we go. Or like how it's not, well, not everybody wants to focus on, divorce. And I, what I say to them, I'm like, you know what, it's fine that you feel that way. And anything that I always hear from somebody that makes me feel like that will benefit the brand and my goal with the show, I take that and I pepper it in. But if it doesn't suit the purpose of why I'm doing this, then I just kind of take it with a grain of salt, because I had, I had done a gig where I kind of pitched this idea for so many months. They finally brought me on. We did it. It was fabulous. And I don't know if the person tried to say it to me to shoot me down a couple of notches, or it's just because he's in the business and he felt like this was honest criticism. But he stated that they did receive a couple of posts that they had to remove immediately because it was about why are you making light of divorce? And I was upset that was like, and then later on they said, no, that was great. You met our expectations. I was upset with the fact that they took the post of me down on one of their socials for the show. Right. And I was like, yeah, they took the celebration of divorce down because I guess I don't actually know. I think that there's bad negative comments on everybody's things. And this thing, and it's like, the other company was about celebration, right? Of events in your life. So if that's your brand, right? Divorce is a celebration, right? Right? It is a celebration. It is a celebration. It is something that people don't necessarily want to do in the beginning, but people get very depressed from stuff like that. So if we start to look at negative situations in life that we can't control as like, this is my divorce party where I, beaten it, like would you ever hear like a sobriety party and people celebrating it as much as like a baby shower? No, because nobody wants to think of addicts as like something to celebrate. Right. Well, that. So you know what, like, like someone who's become sober, and I don't have a role in sobriety because I don't have alcohol or drug problem, but I have had family members who have, and I have had family members flip their lives around because of it. And why can't they have a big celebration like and like and I love baby showers, I love weddings, I love all those things, but why can't we take things like when you finish a dark area of your life, why can't you celebrate that too?
I agree. I 100% agree. In fact, we talk about this a lot especially in the divorce world, divorce coaching world, but when someone says I'm getting a divorce and everyone's initiate, like the first thing they think about is I'm sorry. And you don't even know if that person actually wants it, is actually happy about it, or is okay with it. And all of a sudden, if you say, I'm sorry, it's kind of like you're already putting it into this, in the situation that it's a really bad thing.
Right.
And I have to say, and you're right, not all the times, like, I didn't see it coming. It happened to me. I definitely would have never said that I was happy about it in the beginning, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. So at the end, and you never know it, and I always say this, I'm like, as hard as it is, they are doing you a favor if they're leaving you. They're doing you a favor. They're releasing you. They're freeing you. Celebrate it. You know, you're going to learn so much from it. You're going to learn about you. You're going to fall in love with yourself. There are so many great things that can happen out of that. And it is a turning of a chapter. So embrace it, right?
I like that. Embrace the chapter. I like the falling in love with yourself. I think that's a hard concept for some people to grasp, including myself, because I'm still confused about if I'm in love with myself, because I make choices sometimes that show that I'm not. Like with the unavailable men. I mean, it's the log line on my show. I teach kids with special needs. I date men with special needs. But then the other day, literally, actually this morning, I was like, am I doing it again? Like, because I like a guy who I never actually met him in person, but we've talked via Zoom, and like, it wasn't a date or anything. We started off talking about business. And so I like him. And like, I'm like really into the conversation, but I wouldn't, like, I talk about my life openly, so I don't give a whatever. He listens to it. But like, I realized like yesterday, I was like, we talked twice on Friday night, like 50 minutes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but he has not texted me or initiated conversation. And I don't know. So like, I have initiated conversation because we're talking really on a friend level. We're not talking about us being like, that's not what it is.
No.
But I actually am feeling like, wow, I kind of like this guy. Like,
right.
But like, now I thought to myself, I don't think he's interested in you though. You have to understand that. Like, Michelle, get that in your head now. And then I started thinking, oh my God, am I doing this again? And the loving yourself part comes in, where it's like, you know, what can I do right now to fix myself with the processing that's going on?
Right. No, I mean, and this is the thing. And I also think, listen, it's a constant journey. Like you said earlier on in the show, this is a journey, right? But it's
absolutely,
and it's I think sometimes when after a divorce and when you go through something, I know it's 6 years ago, mine was 10 years ago, and you still sit there and go, what am I attracting? It's also feeling confident in yourself. It's not even just loving yourself, but it's also feeling confident you're picking the right type of person for you. Because like you said in your shows, which cracked me up, like all the things, like you're like, I'm attracting these guys are just like ridiculous. Or you're with these guys that are, I mean, in the dating world is mental.
That's so funny that you say, sorry, go ahead.
No, go on.
You made me think of that quote. Like, I try to take a lot of these quotes and like reflect them in humor in my life, because I always do the opposite of what a coach would say, you know, like, you know, love yourself first. And I'm like, I did. So now I'm ready for love. Like, when I still haven't dealt with all the other things I need to deal with in my life, you know, like, and I did, I don't, with the men, I don't know what it is. I think it's like, I have issues with my twin brother. Like, my twin brother needed a lot of care throughout his life. And I think because my father and I had this tight relationship, and it's not like reflective of that at all, because that's where I was always like not understanding why I have these men in my life that are so dysfunctional, or the fact that I am dysfunctional in the sense of like, get rid of them, you know, and or not, they're not meeting the expectation, and I'm keep moving my bar down until the point where it's like, I can't even fit underneath it either, you know.
You are like flexible. You are flexible. I bet you could fit underneath.
That's what I've been doing. I've been trying to fit in areas like, and so I think that I want love. So like, my girlfriend is a therapist, and she said to me, you love being loved. I was like, I'm not like that. And like, I had to be defensive and saying, no, I don't need love. But it's not about like, I need love, I want love. I live for intimacy. I think every woman does, every man does. Intimacy is one of the best feelings, one of the best, not just the best, but it's a component, it's a compartment in my life I have never had consistency in. And so like I have had great family. I have a daughter. I do what I love to do. You know, a lot of the checks are about, I have my compartments, but then the love part, it's never like, I can't ever get that person to fit in the intimacy. It's always empty. And it's driven me, I think, like at times where I latch on to these different ideas and I'm so I romanticize things that are not there. You know, I like to say, like, I listen to my gut, but sometimes my gut has this crazy lady next door who does shots of tequila while she's talking to me, and I'm listening to her, and I make the wrong decisions.
Totally. I actually, oh my God, this is too funny because I had that alter ego too, the tequila alter ego. I used to call her Nina. Then I got a dog, Nina. And I got a dog, and my daughter's like, let's name her Nina. I was like, where did you get that name from? Anyway. Nina, my alter ego.
I love that.
Yeah, so definitely the tequila drinker. And we all fantasize, and I think it's actually important. I don't think people should move away from that because it's kind of hope. It's kind of what makes you believe, right? That you can have what you want and you will get what you want. And it might come in different forms. I think there is a balance between hoping, believing, and desire, and also accepting, because there's an acceptance thing. So not every person is going to fit every single box. You have fit most of your boxes for yourself, which is awesome, which goes back to you can love yourself for that, right? But that one box of intimacy, if somebody can't give you that, forget about it.
I switched my light off for you, and then I tried to change. There we go. A little summary, more summary. Nice. But nice. I agree with you. I feel like that's it. Like you have to make, I have to make the decision, which is always difficult for me to kick somebody out. Even when like I get aggravated with them, I still will talk. Like later, when I cool off, I'll be like, all right, I'll still talk to you. Which I don't like write people off the way I think I'm trying to project of like, once you wrong me, I'll never trust you, which is true. But I don't write, like, I'll always give you the decency back. You know, sometimes the men I put myself with they don't do that because they can't do it for themselves.
Right. And that is not our problem, right? That's not your problem. But you can write a really great script about it and do
right here. It's right here, baby. It's the rewrites.
It's so good. I can't wait. This is awesome. All right. Well, I mean, I have a question. How does your daughter, I mean, does she roll her eyes at you when you're funny all the time around her?
She does a little bit of both. She does love that I love what I do. Like I could tell that she's like, okay, that's mommy really is good at that. She'll say mommy's really funny, especially when I do my theater company shows. But she said that she likes Divorce Diaries better. Now, she doesn't listen to everything with Divorce Diaries, of course, because some of that's not PG. But I wrote down, I'm gonna just find it real quick. I wrote down yesterday something she said while I was writing I forgot, I was writing and she wrote, I was writing in the living room and she was in her bedroom playing, and she goes, Mommy, if I had to eat 3 pieces of candy for dinner for homework, would you let me do it? I was like, okay. I said, I don't know. And then she goes, I wouldn't just have candy for dinner. And then I said, so it'd be like every other night. And she wrote, what? And I started laughing. And then she goes, don't film me.
Love it. I love it.
She thought I was filming her. I said, well, Grace, that's actually a good line. I'm not filming you, but I'm going to put that into something. Because that was, she says the best moments. Like, I think kids, all kids do, right?
But you see it. That's the difference. You know, I think sometimes we don't always see it. Like we see kids saying annoying things or, oh my God, but you really do see the humor and all of that, which I think is so important.
I think this past year, especially, I had a lot of struggle. My daughter had some challenges with behavior and anxiety and stuff that was out of her control, where I had to seek help for it. And that has been a huge part of, as a mom, that I want to integrate into my comedy, and I have integrated it into the pilot, that doesn't poke fun at people who have it, but it pokes fun of the way Michele handles things that are going on. And also it makes other people around watching it feel good about anything that they would be struggling with similarly. Because,
Exactly.
when you have to bring your daughter to a psychiatrist or a mental health facility because their behavior has changed so drastically, you feel like your world has shattered, or you're like, you don't even know what the hell has just happened. And then you have to find those moments of like, you scratch in your head, like, really? And it was hard for me to do that because it was such a dark couple of hours. It was just a dark couple of months. But what I would look at was myself, right? Like, so that was a part where I was like, I have to feel this out. Like, I bring her to a psychiatrist or a doctor, right? And at the same time, I was like, oh, it's funny that you're diagnosing her with ADHD, but I also work for this place as a humor coach, and I know how ADHD everybody is. Like, you can just find like the humor in the fact that, like,
totally
certain little things that take the spotlight off of the person who's actually struggling from something that isn't to be made fun of. It's really something that we need to pay homage to. But then the light of the situation is like, well, my daughter could say to me, well, you react to things and not wait and be patient, like it could be like that. So I definitely use the humor to find ways for people to cope and heal.
I 100%. I think that's so important, honestly. And I always know when I'm like, this is the second time I've spoken to you, but I obviously follow you on IG forever. I've been following you, and you're just like that breath of fresh air of, you look at it, you're like, oh, something different too. It's like you just and you're just unapologetic. You're just there, raw,
running that down,
ready to to share, ready to be. And I think that's super important. And I highly recommend everyone listening to be following you on IG. In fact, can you tell everyone where they can find you?
Yes. And thank you so much for having me. I love Split FYI, and I love everything that you do. And I'm thriving and striving and thriving. I'm trying
divided, survived, and thriving. In fact, that was going to be my question. And in the end, but
yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I like
now about it because I would love to know what thriving means to you.
So you can go to divorcediariesshow.com for anything, social media, all that stuff, and then to check out with the pilot. But the thriving for me right now is the show, is the live comedy show. And then I wrote a pilot for my show, which I am shooting this June. I'm pretty much self-funding it. So like, for a lot of people, when they have pilot ideas, they can wait for somebody to say, okay, we like your idea, we'll produce it. Or you could just do it yourself, and then you have a proof of concept to present to people and to present to film festivals. And so that right now is how I'm thriving and striving. Like, I know striving is different from surviving, but like, that's kind of what feeds everything right now for me. And like, I am also learning how to not put so many things on my plate that are not Divorce Diaries, because Divorce Diaries is my plate and I only want to put stuff on it that's connected right now. So like I have my like, this is Doug. He's in the show. He's calling me right now, but he's like, he's in the show for the pilot, and he's also a part of the creative team because he's been with me since day one. And he's not like a love interest. He is just a best friend. He's the confidant.
That's amazing.
But everyone was saying that they read the script. They're like, so this is like a Jim and Pam. I'm like, no. They're like, but it can be, Michele. It doesn't have to be based off of that part doesn't have to be real life. Let the network executives say that they like that,
Right.
I was like, okay, fine.
Completely. I mean, but the I always say, it's the process of it all that's the winning bit. Really. I mean, all of this that you're doing, the people that you have been backing you, have been supporting you, the people that are around you, what you're creating, that's the nugget, right? I mean, obviously the pilot being successful is the ultimate goal, but the process of which you're doing it, the people that are being attracted to you, like just by what you're doing is awesome.
I appreciate that so much. You have no idea how much I
Oh, true.
that.
Really celebrate yourself. Thank you for being here today and taking the time. And let's celebrate that you don't have any cavities. She just came from the dentist. That is a thing to celebrate.
And I can't wait to come to LA in July.
Oh my God, I can't wait till you're here. We're gonna you tell us where you're going to be performing and everything. We're gonna get everybody who's in the hood coming to see you. They can follow you on IG, the Divorce Diaries.
Divorce Diaries show on IG.
Yeah, the Divorce Diaries show. I'll put it all in the notes.
Okay, I got the Divorce Diaries trademark, so there's so many people that take the name of things and you just have to kind of roll with it. So when I first started, I had to put all this stuff into place to make sure. But Divorce Diaries show on Instagram, you could see on the website too all the names of the.
It's great. I will put it all in the notes. You're awesome. Thank you, sweetie.
Thank you so much, Laila. Thanks for having me.